And gentlemen and programmers, we're going to do part 2 of getting to know Unity. We're going to learn about the modular component system. We said that the modular component system is one of the great things about Unity. Read through this. What we learned. Here's what the deal is. So in Greenfoot, everything an actor could do, a Wombat could do, because Wombat inherited all the methods from actor. Now, let's say that we created a bad guy right here, right? And bad guy was an actor. Well, that would mean that bad guy could do everything that actor could do. But bad guy is an actor. Bad guy is not a Wombat. So let's say there was some code that we wrote for Wombat that we wanted to put in our new bad guy. Well, we'd have to rewrite that code, right? You just can't get it because Wombat's your good guy, so your bad guy would not be a subclass of Wombat, right? So you're just gonna have to. It's inefficient. You're gonna have to rewrite code. Now, on the other hand, in Unity, let's say you had a mobile enemy, a shooting enemy that moves, and you had an enemy that shoots but doesn't move. All right. Well, you'd write one script or one component for enemy, and you'd drag that on him, and they would all be enemies. And then you'd write a script for motion, and you drag it on him and him. So these guys were enemies that move, right? But not him, because this guy doesn't move. And then you write one for a script for shooting, and you drag that component onto the mobile, and you drag that one onto the stationary. And so basically, it's really efficient because you write one script and you can drag it onto whoever you want, right? So in a component system, objects exist on a flat hierarchy, and you just drag and drop what you want. With the inheritance structure, they're on a totally different branch of the tree. So like I said, with the bad guy, he's on a totally different branch from Wombat, so he can't get any of the scripts or any of the code from Wombat. So by the way, a script is a component, and it needs to be set as one of the components on an object. So let's look what that looks like. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to our rollerball, and we're going to put on our glasses so that we can see. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at the player. And the player, if you come over here to the inspector, you can see that he has the player movement component or script added to it. That's why when we hit the arrow keys, he moves around. Okay, so if I come over here to the project, I can double click on the player movement. It's going to open up in Visual Studio. And I'm going to adjust the code. So I'm going to say speed equals 8. So that's going to start off with speed equals 8. So that's going to be a little bit more powerful. So we got to save our changes, and then we'll minimize this. And then we come over here, you can see it's like, okay, those changes are being updated into the project. And when I hit run, now my guy goes faster, and it's like so fast I can like jump the shark there. At any rate, so I've increased the speed of that script, but the main thing I kind of wanted to show you is that script is attached to this object here. Okay, now let's do like what we talked about with the component system. So let's make a new game object. So we're going to create a 3D cube. All right, and I could move them around, but I'm just going to click right here and type in 0. I'll make it 0, 0. Okay, so he's right at 0, 0, 0. And then I'm going to use the move tool here. Sometimes he's just hard to find, so I'm going to move him up a little bit. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to scale him. You guys do the same thing too. So we're going to make this cube. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to drag two components onto him. So we're going to drag the rotator component onto the cube. There he is over here in the hierarchy. So we drag that. So now he's going to spin like these guys. And then we're going to drag the player movement onto him. And so he's going to move. So let's see what happens. So let's look at our cube so we can see that he has the rotator. Oh, it doesn't look like the player movement got onto him. Let's try that again. There we go, player movement. So we have those two components added. So let's hit play and see what happens. Okay, so you can see that he rotates. Now let's see, when I move, he is not moving. What's happening? Well, let's take a look. We're missing a component exception. There is no rigid body. Okay, so what's happening, let's hit stop here. So what's happening is this player movement script is using a rigid body to move him. He doesn't have a rigid body component. So we're going to have to add another component. So we're going to go to our cube. We're going to hit add component. We're going to go to physics, and we're going to add a rigid body. Okay. And then what I'm going to do here is where it says, so because he's not round, he doesn't roll very good when I hit the arrow key. So I'm going to turn off gravity just so we can see his movement better. And so I'm going to hit go. And let's see what happens. So he's spinning and he is also moving as well. Okay, so that's good. All right, let's hit pause on that. Let's go back to our spiel here. So where's my spiel? Okay, add the rotator and the player movement scripts to it. You're going to need to add a rigid body to make it work. What happens? Write down what happens. Okay, make sure at this point you save your progress. So whenever you save stuff, you're going to first of all, make sure you have it on your flash drive, and we're going to say save, and we're going to go file, save project. So we want to save all the scripts, we want to save the project, we want to save the scene. All right, and let's go back to our spiel here. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna continue to work on components. So we're gonna change the rotator script so that the pickups turn differently using variables. So we're gonna go to the rotator script, and we're gonna come up to the instance variable declaration area. And we're gonna say something like private float x speed equals, and we're going to make it bigger than this. So we got XYZ, so we're going to say 25F for float. And then we're going to copy this. We're going to just copy this copy. I'm going to copy it again. And we're going to say X speed, we're going to say Y speed, and we're going to say Z speed. And you can change this to whatever you want. And I'm going to change this to 45 and 75. Okay, and so we have our variables. So instead of 15 here, we're going to say X speed. I'm going to hit tab. Right here, I'm going to say Y speed tab, and right here we're going to say Z speed tab. Okay, and we're going to save those changes. And so that should change how all of our guys rotate. So let's see what happens. So save, minimize. So you can see there's, if we go to the scene, you can really see it this way. Oh, not on that guy. So you can see that they're changing X, Y, and Z. And if you play around with those variables, you can get them to change at different speeds. All right, what's next? Okay, add the up and down script to the pickup so that only one behaves differently. Okay, so let's take a look at that. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a new asset, and we want to create a what do I want to do here? So hold on. All right, assets, create. Oh, there it is. Model behavior script. Okay, now don't do anything yet. This is very important. You want to name it right away. All right, so we're going to say, we're going to call it, what are we going to call it? Up and down. Okay, so we're going to call this up and down. So first thing we do before we do anything else is we're going to call it up and, oops. Up and down. Okay, so click off of it. So it's been named correctly. So then we're going to double click on it. And we want to double check. Okay, I messed it up. So I'm going to have to delete this one because the name is different. So it's just, so you want to check that right at the get-go. And if you ever have anything that has a different name than is here, so we're just gonna delete this. All right, let's try it again. Okay, let's try it again. So we're gonna say assets, create, and we want a mono behavior script. Okay, and we're gonna call it up and down. Okay, so we renamed it right off the get-go. Okay, now we'll double click on it. And okay, it has the exact same name, so that's super important, otherwise it's not going to work. Okay, so we have this thing called start. Start is called once before the first execution update. So basically this is your constructor, so this runs one time at the beginning. This is void update is like the act method. So we're going to click right here and we're going to click right here and we're going to type this code here. So float y equals math f. Make sure you pay attention to the upper and lower case. All right, so the code's not important, but basically what it's going to do is make one of the guys go up and down. So we're going to save this. And now who's going to move up and down? Well, let's make this guy move up and down. Okay, so let's hit pause. So on this guy, we're going to turn off the rotator script. And we're going to drag onto him. He's pickup number 1. We're going to drag onto one guy the up and down script. Okay, so let's see what happens with him when we hit go. All right, so he moves up and down. Looks like he's going to go through the floor, but that's okay. All right, let's see what's next. Okay, I think that's it for this video. We're going to go on to the sound effect and a couple other things in the next video.